what happens when a scientist also becomes an apologist for God? He loses his scientific hat immediately. Let's look at Dr. Francis Collins. Great man. He was leading the Genome Project and became for a while the head of the National Institutes of Health. How did he find God? He found God when his daughter was raped, but he claims, number one, that God cannot intervene in natural affairs. God in the Bible has done so. He parted the Red Sea for the fleeing Israelites, and he played with Pharaoh's mind. His free will was curbed by the Lord. He could have done that to the rapist. He didn't. What a shame. He also believes that he's a scientist and he understands that the earth is not around 6,000 years old, but billions of years. So what does he say about that? He says, the only reason or way we could explain this is that God made us read our instrument wrongly. He would tamper with our instruments to make the earth seem only under 7,000 years old. And then he says, who would want to worship a God like that? Well, if it is like that, and how evil is prevented himself in the Bible, what choice do you have, Dr. Collins and all your other apologists? And finally he says, to him, monotheism is the only right thing. Belief in one God. And this is despite the Lord himself in the first commandment saying, thou shalt have no other gods beside me. Other gods in God's own hand means other gods. Right, Dr. Collins? Finally, if God could have just been clear, we wouldn't have needed so many apologists with so many differing conclusions about what the Lord wants from us. Mysterious ways? What does it mean? We don't understand God, so we don't know what to do, but we'll be punished anyway. I want to touch on 3 of Dr. Collins' points. Number 1, Dr. Collins says, God cannot interfere in the real world without creating havoc. God of the Bible had done nothing but. He has tampered with Pharaoh's free will. He has parted the Red Sea for the fleeing Israelites, but somehow he couldn't get around to either stopping the rapist that abused Dr. Collins' daughter or opened the gates to the Nazi death camps. Number 2, Dr. Collins puts on his scientific hat and he says, as a scientist, he knows how to read scientific instruments. Aha! He knows how to read scientific instruments, and therefore he knows that the earth is billions of years old and not just a little over 6,000. And the only explanation would have been if the Lord would tamper, listen to this, tamper with our instruments to make us believe that the earth is older. And who would want to worship a God like that, says Francis Collins. Well, what choice would you have? God has drowned everybody on earth and is still worshipped. Come on, Dr. Collins and all other apologists. Number 3, Dr. Collins is clear that monotheism, belief in only one God, is the only rational thing. He seems to not be quite aware that the first commandment says, thou shalt have no other gods beside me. Now, beside or before me, other gods in God's own hand means other gods. Even the Bible isn't clear.